You won't believe what this machine can actually do. It doesn't just fly, it vanishes. It doesn't just drop bombs, it ends wars. And it doesn't just cost $2 billion, it costs silence, secrecy, and years of invisible power. This is the B-2 spirit, and what's hidden inside this black-winged ghost is something the world still isn't ready for. The origin of invisibility. In the late 1970s, the United States knew something terrifying. The Soviets had radar strong enough to spot fighter jets across continents. Intercontinental bombers? They were becoming flying targets. The Pentagon needed a miracle. Not another bomber, but a ghost. Engineers at Northrop proposed something that looked impossible. A flying wing shaped not for speed, but to disappear from radar. In secret hangars, they ran tests, built mock-ups, failed, and then something worked. The plane had no tail, no vertical surfaces, just a curved black wing. It absorbed radar, scattered signals, and vanished in radar simulators. They called it the Advanced Technology Bomber. Later, the Spirit. And the world wouldn't officially see it until 1988. Why radar can't find it. Radar works like a flashlight in the dark. Send out a beam and wait for the reflection. But the B-2 doesn't reflect. Its curved body deflects radar waves like water off a leaf. It has no vertical surfaces, no tail fins, no cockpit ridges. Its edges are razor-sharp and angled precisely to avoid detection. Even the paint is secret, radar-absorbent material or RAM. It drinks radio waves instead of reflecting them. Its engines, hidden deep in the wing. Exhaust is cooled before it exits. So even infrared missiles have trouble locking on. The B-2's radar cross-section is smaller than a bird. From 50,000 feet, it doesn't just evade radar. It doesn't exist. A global shadow. A stealth bomber means nothing if it can't reach the target. The B-2 was built to go global. It can fly 6,000 plus nautical miles on a single tank and refuel mid-air, extending missions to over 40 hours. In the cockpit, 2 pilots take turns flying and sleeping. They eat sealed meals, nap in shifts, monitor stealth systems. There's no bathroom, just discipline. In 2001, B-2s flew 44-hour combat missions from Missouri to Afghanistan and back. They destroyed Taliban airfields before most Americans even knew we were at war. From Whiteman Air Force Base, a B-2 can hit any target on Earth and be home by sunrise. Inside the cockpit. Step inside the B-2, and you'll feel the pressure of silence. There are no windows behind the seats, no crew buzzing about, just 2 people. Inside a $2.1 billion aircraft, managing a war in the sky. The cockpit is filled with 4 massive multi-function displays. Each controls a part of the aircraft: navigation, mission planning, weapons systems, and threat detection. Everything is backed up, redundant, shielded from EMPs. Because if nuclear war ever begins, the B-2 will be one of the first to fly. The pilots don't just fly, they manage invisibility, track radar threats, coordinate with satellites. You're not just flying a bomber, you're flying the edge of human technology. A payload for Armageddon. The B-2 doesn't carry guns, it carries silence and devastation. In its bomb bays, it can load up to 40,000 pounds of weapons, including 80 smart bombs, 500 pounds, 16 bunker busters, 2,000 pounds, massive ordnance penetrators, the 30,000-pound beast built to destroy underground bunkers, and nuclear bombs like the B-61 or B-83. Its bomb bay doors can open and close in just 2 seconds, minimizing radar exposure. Targets are hit before they even know a plane was overhead. Precision, silence, total destruction. That's the B-2's promise. Yet, even with all this technology and firepower, the B-2's most astonishing feat wasn't what it carried. It was how far it could go. And in the weeks after September 11th, it flew a mission that would make history. Imagine spending nearly 2 days strapped inside the cockpit of a machine designed to be invisible. No beds, no windows, no relief from the mission, just the endless hum of engines, and the knowledge that you're carrying enough firepower to change a war. This is the true story of the longest combat mission ever flown by a stealth bomber. In October 2001, as the world reeled from the devastation of September 11th, the B-2 Spirit was chosen to strike the very heart of the Taliban's defenses. 2 B-2s lifted off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, each loaded with 16 tons of guided bombs. Their target, fortified Taliban positions buried deep in the Afghan mountains. They climbed to 50,000 feet, refueled over the Pacific Ocean, and kept flying hour after hour across continents. In the cockpit, the pilots traded short naps, ate military rations, and stared at the glow of their displays. When they reached Afghan airspace, the bomb bay doors cracked open for just a few seconds. J-dams fell silently into the darkness. By the time explosions lit up the valley below, the B-2s were already banking away, slipping back into the night as though they had never been there. But what made this mission extraordinary wasn't just the precision. Instead of turning for home, the bombers kept flying west, continuing around the globe. They refueled again, this time over the Indian Ocean, before finally landing on the remote island of Diego Garcia. When the wheels touched down, the pilots had been in the air for 44 continuous hours. They had flown more than 12,000 miles, and they had proven that the B-2 wasn't just an aircraft, it was an instrument of global reach. A message that no place on Earth is beyond the hand of American air power, and no enemy is safe from the ghost in the sky. The B-2 Spirit has fought wars you've heard about, and some you haven't. In 1999, NATO launched Operation Allied Force against Serbia. As air defenses lit up the night, the B-2 quietly slipped through radar nets and dropped satellite-guided bombs on power stations, bridges, and hardened bunkers. Over 50 missions, B-2s destroyed targets that no other aircraft could approach safely. At the time, most of the world had never seen precision airstrikes conducted invisibly. In 2003, when the U.S. invaded Iraq, B-2s again flew from Missouri, releasing the opening salvos that shattered Saddam Hussein's military infrastructure. One mission stood out for its audacity. A B-2 launched from Whiteman Air Force Base, struck multiple Iraqi bunkers in a single sortie, then landed halfway around the world at Diego Garcia, all without ever becoming a blip on an enemy radar screen. These missions demonstrated that the B-2 wasn't simply an advanced bomber. It was a strategic tool to shape the battlefield before the rest of the military arrived. But those were only the operations the Pentagon chose to declassify. Here's another story that offers a glimpse behind the curtain. In 2011, NATO began Operation Odyssey Dawn, a coalition air campaign to enforce a no-fly zone over Libya. As conventional fighters launched from carriers and bases in Europe, 3 B-2 Spirits lifted off from the heart of the United States. They flew more than 6,500 miles non-stop to North Africa. In the opening hours of the campaign, they struck 45 hardened aircraft shelters on Gaddafi's airfields, crippling the Libyan Air Force in a single wave of stealth attacks. Hours later, those same B-2s turned for home and completed a round trip of nearly 25,000 miles, another record in the history of strategic bombing. Officially, that's where the record ends. But many defense analysts believe the B-2 has struck targets in Syria, Iran, and elsewhere, missions so sensitive their details may never be made public. Every time it launches, the B-2 Spirit carries not just weapons, but a simple message. No target is too distant and no defense is too strong. The cost of invisibility. Invisibility doesn't come cheap. For every hour the B-2 Spirit spends in the air, it requires 119 hours of maintenance on the ground. That's not an exaggeration. Each mission demands teams of specialists to inspect every surface, check every sensor, and reapply stealth coating that can peel away under high-speed flight. This special paint, called radar absorbent material, or RAM, is a closely guarded secret. It's applied in climate-controlled hangars, often by technicians in full protective suits. Temperature, humidity, even dust in the air can compromise the coating. And the cost? Maintaining a single B-2 can run $60 million a year. Every bolt is tracked, every seam is scanned. Even the tiniest scratch can make it visible to radar. That's why only 20 B-2s were ever built, and today, just 19 remain in service. The price of absolute stealth is measured not only in dollars, but in the invisible hours of labor, caution, and secrecy. Most aircraft are retired because they're outdated. The B-2 will eventually retire because it's simply too expensive to keep hidden. The B-2 Spirit was born in secrecy. It lives in the shadows, and soon it may finally pass the torch to its successor, the B-21 Raider, an even more advanced stealth bomber designed for a new era of warfare. But until that day comes, this black-winged phantom remains the most powerful and elusive aircraft ever built. It doesn't just represent technology, it represents a philosophy that the best weapon is the one you never see coming. For over 30 years, the B-2 has flown above us, unseen, but always ready. Thank you for joining us on this journey inside one of history's most remarkable machines. If you enjoyed this documentary, please consider subscribing to the channel for more stories of engineering, strategy, and the aircraft that changed the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember, sometimes the most powerful forces are the ones we never see.